Joe's question is up next. He says, I've calculated that I'm ahead of my retirement goals for my age. Is it okay for me to slow down the financial order of operations in order to prioritize shorter-term goals, like starting a business? What do you think?
Man, I love this, Brian, because one of the things you told me, you said when you and your wife first got married and you were starting out, you said, sweetheart, look, if we can just save and let's save, and we make the hard decisions now in our early 20s, there's a really good chance when we get to our 40s, life will be a little bit easier. We can take our foot off the pedal. We can not save as aggressively. Maybe we can do other stuff, because it sounds like your plan was, hey, we'll be in this situation. We know our number. We know we're ahead of the curve. We made the hard decisions early, so now we get to make some fun decisions later. Is it okay, if you know your number, to back down your savings, to start spending, to start doing those sort of things? And how did you and your wife navigate that process?
Yeah, this is a great question. There are a few clarifying things we'd need from Joe. First, I'd want to know, obviously, how old is he? Because there's one difference. If you're ahead of the curve, I mean, we know. I just saw it like last week. The net worth of like a 20-something, even on the high end of like the top 10%, is like $12,000, $13,000. Because unfortunately, a lot of people in their 20s have a lot of debt and other things. So it's not hard to be ahead of the curve. But that still doesn't mean somebody who's got $20,000 that's ahead of the curve doesn't mean that you're really necessarily insured or assured that you're going to reach financial independence, because you've done all the get wealthy behaviors that you've already way ahead of the curve on funding. So that's the first thing. You got to kind of know where you are in the journey, because if when we talk about get rich or get wealthy behaviors versus stay wealthy behaviors, typically that journey between age 20 to 45 is loading it up, getting as many army of dollar bills working for you as possible. So it is easy for somebody who's really loaded it up, like I was talking about. My wife and I, we could save and invest, front end load this, so by the time we get in our 40s, we could have a conversation and do a spot check. And you can use our know your number course at learn.moneyguy.com to know where you are, to say, yes, we have now reached launch point. Our assets are big enough that they'll provide enough in resources that I can take my foot off the accelerator and do some other goals, travel a little bit nicer and other things. But that's not what Joe's kind of, I'm assuming he's younger than this 45 that I've thrown out, because now he's trying to figure out more of the direction also. I've got some entrepreneurial desires too. Now, and this is what a financial planner has to do, is because now I'm trying to figure out, is this like a side hustle thing, or is this something he's hoping to quit his daytime job and actually do this full time? Because those have two different funding necessities. So just for a side hustle, that's something you can just, put some money on the side and you'll be okay. But if you all of a sudden think that, hey, I've got a goal the next 12 to 18 months, I'd like to leave my daytime job. Now you've got to go put on your 3D glasses and do the 3D plan. I mean, you have to say, okay, I need to run a business plan so I can figure out how much cash and liquidity I need, because just because you're good at something, you have aptitude and talent, you need the resources to get you through the lean period as you're getting your financial foundation. So run the 3D plan, which means you're going to run the dream. Oh my gosh, we're going to be so rich. This is the dream. This is why we do this. The down to earth. This is what's likely going to happen. Then you don't skip. The most important one is the do-do plan. This is like, oh my gosh, this went so bad. I'm a fool. I should never have done this. Run those three plans, so then you can take a combination of the three to figure out how much cash reserves you need to boost up, so you kind of can know where you are. And I would tell you, I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't tell you. I did this in my 20s. After my father passed away, I had my moment of clarity through trauma that I was like, I don't like how I'm living my life right now. Yes, we've been dual income. Yes, we've been loading up the savings. It's been easy, but I feel like I want to go a different path. I had to build up, and we lived a minimalistic life before I even knew what that term meant. Off of one income, we saved the rest, and I used those cash savings to fund the first 3 years of my operation. And you'll probably need that too, Joe, because it takes a while to be successful in business. I mean, I can tell you, and I don't want to go too far into too many tangents, but when I started my first company, I went back to my hometown thinking everybody was going to remember how cool and fun and what a good kid Brian Preston was, and everybody's going to just line up to work with Brian. You show up, you put your shingle out, and not a single person. No, I had 2 people show up. I had a neighbor down the street, Mr. Ronnie. I'll never forget just all the thankfulness I was when he showed up. And then one of my best friends, still one of my best friends, his mother, who's unfortunately passed away now, she also reached out and said, "Hey, Brian, I heard you're starting a company. How can I help out?" Nobody else showed up. So that's why you got to run the do-do plan too, is because more than likely there's going to be some things that hiccup and don't go like you planned.